Let's talk about Jeremiah Fears.
Okay.
I will say coming into our we started this even before the lottery, right? We started talking about Cooper Flagg, moving through the top 4 guys. In my head, I sort of had the top 4, which has been talked about. You have the Rutgers guys, you have Cooper Flagg, and then you have VJ Edgecombe. Everyone under that, I've sort of been like meh about. I didn't really know what to expect, and Jeremiah Fears has that effect. I don't know what to expect from him. I think he could be awesome coming into the league, but in that same lane, he could come in and just be a Malik Monk-esque scoring backup point guard.
6'2.5" in his bare feet, 180 pounds, 6'5" wingspan, 8'2" standing reach. So honestly, pretty bad measurements.
Yes.
He's little.
He's little.
He looks little. He's light. He's slight. He's quick. He's actually not like so jitterbug quick the way you think of some of these little guards, but he's quick. Like he's got a good first step, and he's maybe the shiftiest player we've watched so far.
I think absolutely.
I think Trey Johnson's in that conversation, but like I said with Trey Johnson, he's a lot of side to side and not forward and backwards, or certainly not forward, some backwards, some step back stuff. But like Jeremiah Fears is like wiggle, left, right, step on it, and then get to the paint. Like that's kind of what his skill is.
He can go any direction anytime. I think he has the best handle of anyone in the class.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
He averaged 17.1 points, 4.1 rebounds, 4.1 assists, 43.4% from the field, 28.4% from 3, which is really interesting because when you look at his shooting and then his actual shooting numbers, it kind of tells two different stories in a way because 85.1% from the line, which is awesome.
Good free throw shooter. Can get to a shot off the dribble. Like you watch the difference between VJ Edgecombe and Jeremiah Fears. Like Jeremiah looks like he's done it. VJ, sometimes you're like, have you ever done this? Have you ever dribbled into a jump shot?
Yes.
Especially if you're like operating in isolation and trying to get to like a crossover, step back and pull up. It looks really goofy sometimes. Like he doesn't know how to do it. Jeremiah Fears absolutely knows how to do it. It does not go in.
Yeah.
And that's the big flaw in him. So the big question with Jeremiah Fears is he going to be big enough to do anything in the NBA defensively?
Yes.
And then is he going to be able to shoot? And it's important to remember that he reclassified in high school the same way Cooper Flagg did. So he's one of the younger players. He's truly 18 years old. He's going to be 19 by draft time, but like he's a year younger than basically everybody else in this class. And when you look at VJ Edgecombe or you look at Con Knippel, those guys are even old for their class.
Yeah.
So there might be an 18-month difference between him, Jeremiah Fears, and some of these other guys that are considered freshmen, but when their actual birth year was and how old they're going to be. So, and that, that kind of ties into perceived upside. Sometimes I think we overrate like the difference between an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old. But truly, when you're talking about playing at the highest levels of their life so far, he's been a year younger than everyone when he's been doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that I think is interesting is in the way that Ace Bailey and Trey Johnson are creators, and they're just like they can shoot over you and they can make these super tough shots. Jeremiah Fears is the creator, and we're like he can always get open. Like he can. He can get down to the lane. He has the pullback, step back, side steps. He has a deep bag, if you want to use that term.
He does.
And something going into his shooting that I thought was interesting. He shot 36% from 3 catch and shoots, and then 39% catch and shoots unguarded. So I think there is something there with his 3-point shot, but I also just think the decision making, both with the ball in his hands and then ultimately when he decides to take a shot, is lacking.
There's some upside belief that I think his 3-point shooting is going to at least be respectable.
Yes.
I don't know if he's going to be like a 40% 3-point shooter, but I suspect he's like I project him, and we should talk about Isaiah Collier more coming up in this conversation. Inevitably, he's going to. I have more belief that Jeremiah Fears is going to be a good shooter than I do Isaiah Collier.
Absolutely.
So there's that aspect of it. That's kind of the shooting, and it's his biggest swing skill. Like if he doesn't shoot, he's just not an NBA player. And then when you're talking about you don't know what to expect, and you kind of look at these guys outside of the top 3 or 4, and you're like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
If he doesn't shoot, he's not an NBA player.
Absolutely.
Like I very firmly believe that, or he's a backup, and then you're drafting at the 5th pick, a backup guard, which is like the worst case scenario because backup point guards are available. Yeah. They're plentiful. It's like getting a 3rd string center. It's just like, those guys are out there. You can get Cody Zeller whenever you want. So offensively, he's more of a dynamo than he is, and it's kind of I know it's a vague term, more of an offensive dynamo than he is like one specific thing. He's like an okay scorer, 17 points per game, but like it's not 19.9 like Trey Johnson. Like he's not that level of scorer. Because he's not that level of shooter. 4.1 assists is like an accurate reflection of who he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
He can pass. He's got some vision. He gets into the paint and like does some kick out stuff. He also misses guys. There's some times like I watch because I watch the full games. I'm not just watching the highlights.
Yeah.
Like there's somebody beats guys off the dribble and his like forward or big man who's standing in the dunker spot is like sitting there like, hey, I'm literally wide open, and there's no one between you and me, not even a player. Like, you've beaten them off the dribble, and they're behind you.
Yeah.
If you pass me the ball, I have a dunk. And Jeremiah Fears is like, I'm going to the rim. Just pass.
Yeah.
And you get a layup, and you get the assist.
Yes.
And then he gets into the paint, and it's like he's not a very good paint finisher because he's so little. And he's athletic. Like, I think he had more dunks than Trey Johnson this year.
Yeah, and I think he will going into next year.
Yeah, he's gonna have some weird little guy posters, some like Spud Webb posters, because he's pretty springy, he's pretty bouncy, but he's like not a great passer.
Yeah,
he's not like a super instinctual passer. I think Dylan Harper's a much better passer.
Yes.
Even though Dylan Harper's like less of a true point guard than Jeremiah Fears is, because Jeremiah Fears has to play point guard in the NBA because he's 6'2" and he'll be 6'4" in shoes. So he's just kind of more of like an I'll do everything offensively.
Yeah.
Pretty good, but he's not like a great assist man or a dynamic scorer who's going to get you 30 points per game. You're like, well, this is Isaiah Thomas, Celtics Isaiah Thomas, not Pistons Isaiah Thomas, who's like, yeah, he's 5'8", 5'9", but man, literally he's going to score 30 points a game.
Yeah.
He's not that player either. So kind of some questions there. And then defensively, I was actually surprised how hard he tried.
Yes.
There is never a moment where he's not caring. Like, I think he's really locked in. He's really trying. He's just little.
He's just small.
He's just really little, and it changes how he can be as an effective defender.
I think that he is, I was going to point that out, he is very energetic on defense. He has a few times, I think he averaged like around 1.4, 1.6 steals a game, something like that. And most of those are passing lanes. But yeah, I think that he's not going to be a Trae Young level of bad small guard defender.
No, he's not.
But he's going to come in and he's going to try, and he's going to, I think his ceiling, with that said, though, is like a neutral defender.
At best. And you're still talking about like a really little guy who, it's why I wish I could see these guys in workouts that we just don't get to see.
Yeah.
In the past, you would get to see these guys and you think like, oh, I can see his shoulders. And like, that implies like, can you add a certain amount of weight? Like I remember seeing DeJounte Murray for the first time and being like, oh, that dude can't fit through a doorway walking straight. His shoulders are so wide. Like he's going to put on weight. He's so big. It's got that Rajon Rondo look. Like Jeremiah Fears, I can look at pictures of him, but I don't know how big his head is. Yeah. And until I can like get an idea of how big his shoulders are, like, is he actually going to get up to 210 because he's only 18 years old now and he's going to put on 30 pounds by the time his career's done? Or is he going to be 190 and just be little his whole career?
Yeah.
Like he kind of looks like Devin Harris in that body frame. And I know that's a comp that he gets a lot, which is, I get it. He's like not a great shooter, pretty speedy, good wiggle, but that doesn't really matter. So what were your thoughts on him? I mean, we just kind of broken down his game.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on him?
And this is part of the reason why I say it's so hard to tell if he's going to be awesome or just a backup point guard in the NBA.
Because one thing I should add really quick, sorry. He has like amongst all these guys, some like true like star takeover stretches better than Con Knipple.
Yes.
Now Con didn't get the opportunity because he was playing with 4 other NBA guys. But that's also the other point. Like Jeremiah Fears wasn't playing with any other NBA guys at Oklahoma. So sometimes he had to do a lot, and he was doing a lot as an 18-year-old. Like he was doing a ton as a very young person. But there are late game situations where he takes over and hits crazy hero shots, like 3, drawing a foul to get the win, to put the team up by 1 in a 3-point situation. Late in the conference tournament in the SEC, he takes over games. He beat Kentucky and just like absolutely took over the game, including like several huge defensive plays. Like when the game's at its toughest, he gets better. Yeah. Which I think is where like there's some real star upside here, even though the body type doesn't traditionally lend itself to stardom.
Yes. And what I was saying is, I think, like you said, he has the foundation for a lot of these key skills, but he isn't just like amazing at any of them. And which is why I think that's interesting, because if he goes into a place where they can actually hone in on these things and develop him the right way, I think he could be awesome. I think he could be like a 22.56 assist kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like,
and what's really interesting? 4.1 rebounds is for a player his size is really good.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
I think he was like 3rd on his team in rebounds as a 6'2" guard.
Yeah.
He's like not afraid to mix it up. I think that does speak to the defensive aspect of like he is not afraid to get in there and use his physicality. And you actually see that when he gets downhill. We said he's not good at finishing in the paint, but man, for a little guy, he will throw his body into you. He will dislodge you. Like he will get defenders off their spot so he can get to his shots. They just don't go in very well right now, which again, he's 18. He should get a lot stronger.
Yes. Something that I thought was interesting. I mentioned that the decision making in honestly a lot of aspects, like shooting instead of passing, making shots tougher, etc. I think that when he finally gets to the NBA and he has NBA spacing and he also has NBA level shot makers next to him, I think he could be like even more impressive in college in the NBA than he was because of that reason. Like even though there are times when he doesn't pass when he probably should, he does make the dump off a lot of times. He can make jump passes, skip passes. And I think when you have Bryce Sensabaugh instead of your Oklahoma small forward, who probably won't make it to the NBA, I think he's could come in and be really good from day one. Like he isn't going to be a true difference maker, but I think that the things that make him a prospective top 8 pick will shine even brighter in the NBA.
I think you're right. I think he'll have better spacing around him, and I think he'll be able to do enough early on that he can get on the court, a la Keontae George.
Yes.
The same way Keontae got on the floor early in his career. There's just kind of enough like natural basketball stuff there that he plays early.
Yes.
I agree with that. Did you like him?
I did. I wanted to ask you, if you were the Jazz, both of them are available for you, would you take Trey or Jeremiah?
Trey.
Trey.
1,000 times.
Yeah.
There's a couple things I take away, and the big one is the most obvious.
Yeah.
Which is, what is the NBA value right now? Size and shooting, and he doesn't have either.
Yeah.
It's like that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's honestly just the end for me. That's honestly the end of the story for me on Jeremiah Fears with the number 5 overall pick. He's not big enough, and he doesn't shoot well enough.
Yes.
And maybe he gets there, but there are other guys who are already bigger than he is that shoot well that don't. They're not point guards. Trey Johnson's never going to be a point guard. I don't think Con Knipple's going to be like a lead point guard, but I think he can probably get some backup reps. But like they're bigger and they shoot better.
Yeah.
And are going to have similar defensive questions, but probably are going to have higher defensive upside because of their measurements.
Yes.
So I just like don't, other than like he's young, I don't really see it.
Okay.
In all honesty, like I'm kind of, I liked watching him.
Yes.
I'm kind of out on him just in general.
Okay.
And I don't think you usually do this because you just draft best player available.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, I don't know if he's going to be better than Isaiah Collier.
Okay.
Like I get why he would be.
Yes.
Trust me, I get you. Like I said, I think he's going to be a better shooter in the NBA than Isaiah Collier is. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that Isaiah, even though Isaiah is really only 6'2.5" as well, like Isaiah is not much bigger height wise. I've told you, he looks like a Minecraft character. Like he's just a tank.
Yeah.
That's going to keep, and he's faster. He's actually faster than Jeremiah Fears is. Like end to end, I guarantee you Isaiah Collier's faster. I think Isaiah has a chance to maybe a better chance of just sticking in the NBA because of a higher floor.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Fears, I think floor is a lot lower because he's so little. But floors, I think Fears' ceiling is higher.
Yeah. 2 things. One, I think that I have more faith in his jump shot than I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Just because the mechanics look good.
Fears.
Yeah. For Fears. Yeah. His mechanics look good. Like there's no glaring problem with this form. And then also, like I said, I pointed out the 36% catch and shoot, 39% unguarded catch and shoot.
And 85% free throw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I have faith in him being able to get to like a 36, 37.
Like I think Isaiah Collier shot in the 60s in college.
Yeah.
From the free throw line.
Yes.
Like he's a bad free throw shooter. He's a bad shooter.
So I have faith, but I do agree with you. I would take Trey 100% over I would take Jeremiah. And I do think that his floor is like super low. Like he could maybe even like be out of the NBA in a few years because he just doesn't put on any weight. He never comes around with the IQ department.
Yeah, it's like James Bouknight.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
And he's a better passer. He's probably like got a better head on his shoulder than James Bouknight, but like those guys work themselves out of the league.
Yeah. For comparisons, how I do this is I like to give like an almost unrealistic best case scenario.
Yeah, of course.
And for that I put Kyrie, which is just like, I don't see him ever getting to like the 50, 40, 90. Like absolutely not. He's never going to be as good as a shooter as Kyrie is. But he has that sort of look of him. Like his handle is crazy. And then more realistic, I have Monte Ellis and Terry Rozier.
Yeah, there's like a lot of Terry Rozier there. I think I would maybe say best case scenario is like Celtics Isaiah Thomas, which is like that's his all-star path.
Yeah.
I think Isaiah made 2 all-stars.
Yes.
That's like the pathway.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like might be able to carry, like again, offensive dynamo, really can score, et cetera, figures out how to get a shot off in the paint, but is so fatally flawed that it's like the Celtics were happy to build up his value and trade him.
Yes.
Danny Ainge was happy to get rid of him, even though he was, playing like a top 25 player in the league.
Yeah.
My hot take.
Okay.
This is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him the Cam Whitmore Award.
Okay.
There's a chance like he's on the board at 21. And
Really?
I know that's crazy because everyone's like, no, he's going to go 5 or 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Like Cam Whitmore was guaranteed to go 4 on draft night. And then it was like the night before, people were like, he might be on the board at 9 for the Jazz.
Yeah.
And the Jazz passed on him when they took Taylor Hendricks, and the Jazz passed on him when they took Keontae George.
Yeah.
When he fell to whatever, 17, 18, 19, whatever it was, to the Houston Rockets. Like, there's a bad situation here, and I'll just pull up the draft order, where if he gets past, like, Brooklyn, who just took Bub Carrington. Like, I totally get why they would pass on him. They just drafted a guy in the lottery that's a point guard. Like, the Pelicans have 2 little guys who can score already, and DeJounte Murray, they didn't really get a full season of, so they'll probably rather see what he does. The Nets might take him, but like, let's say the Nets take Yegor Demon, which is kind of the popular, like, that's kind of the in vogue thing. Everyone thinks that's what they're going to do. And like, this Raptors probably go with a big guy.
Yeah.
Maybe go with like Kamen Malawash. Trailblazers definitely don't need another little guard. They've got Scoot Henderson, who they just drafted. I think the Bulls are going to pay Josh Giddey. It's just like, the Spurs aren't going to take him because they can't take another non-shooting guard. They've got De'Aaron Fox. Maybe the Thunder just say like, hey, it's best player available. Yeah. We have the ability to take best player available. But like, that's 15 already.
True.
Like, and we haven't even talked about like Yakashonis going off the board. Or another point guard out of nowhere jumping up and someone being like, we actually like Neat Clifford, who's like kind of going to play, he's bigger and plays the 1 and the 2.
Yeah.
It's like Nolan Traore jumps up out of nowhere. It's like, he falls to 21 in that situation. Like, I would never use the 5th pick on him.
Yeah.
If it were me. And maybe the Jazz are going to do it. Maybe because I'm saying that they're going to be it. I might be like, I got to talk this guy in draft night now. But I think there's like a real, like, there's a chance he's on the board at 21.
That's crazy. Off of your hot take, I'm going to ask you a question. Jazz take Connor Trey at 5. Uh-huh. Do they take him at 21 if he's there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good draft.
Yeah.
No, he's awesome at 21. Yeah, absolutely. I really like him as the 21st pick.
Yeah.
I like him as like the 12th pick, in all honesty. But you know what? Like, I think he's a worse prospect than Rob Dillingham was last year.
Okay.
And Rob Dillingham, I think, went 8.
Yes.
The Spurs traded.
The Timberwolves traded.
The Spurs had the pick, and they traded it for a future unprotected pick. Like, and I actually think Rob Dillingham in a worse draft is a better prospect than I think Jeremiah Fears is.
Yeah.
Because Rob Dillingham is just such a good shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're both going to be such negative defensive players because of their size that I would probably take Rob. And Rob went 8th in a bad draft, a much worse draft than this year's draft.
True.
So I think it's too high to take him at 5.
Okay.
But if he was there at, like, even if he was there at like 17 or 18 and someone was like, yeah, we'll take your 2 second-round picks and 21.
Yeah.
And you wanted to move up and get him, and you're like, I actually think there's like enough star here that maybe he's better than Isaiah and better than Keontae that you take him. Like, I think that's good. I just wouldn't take him at 5.
Honestly, I think that, and again, I'm sitting here with a mic. I have no experience in this aspect, but I would only take him at or 18 to 21 if you're the Jazz, if you take like Con at 5. Because if you're taking both Trey and him, then it's like, now you have Trey, Jeremiah, Keontae, Isaiah, Colin Sexton. Yeah. And you're like, what are we going to do?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Unless you know you're trading several of those guys. I think he's a bad fit. Mm-hmm. I actually think his skill set is a bad fit right now with the Jazz right now as far as another non-shooter. And I think you can get better value. And like, I have more faith in, and like, I'm not saying Trey Johnson is going to be an amazing defender, but I think his defensive ceiling is higher than Jeremiah's. Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah. He didn't show it, and the effort wasn't as high as Jeremiah Fears in college, but yeah, he's 6'6" with a 6'10" wingspan. It's like that. Unfortunately, like, I watched the Pacers beat the Knicks, and it's like, yeah, Tyrese Halliburton's a terrible defensive player, but he's also 6 inches taller than Jalen Brunson, and that helps. So when he needs to block an OG Anunoby 3, he blocks it. Yeah. And here's the funny thing about Jeremiah Fears. I would say the 3 biggest problems for the Jazz were defense, shooting, and taking care of the ball. Yeah, and he does. Yeah, we didn't talk about his turnovers. He averages 4.1 assists and 3.4 turnovers. I think it's like 1.2 turnover to assist. Yeah, he's just not. He doesn't take care of the ball. Yeah. So you're right. He accentuates everything the Jazz are bad at already. Yeah. But there's some star upside. Yeah. Yeah, there is. Yeah. But there is with everybody. Colin Knippel has star upside. Yeah. Trey Johnson has real star upside. And so does the guy I think we should talk about next week, Derek Queen. Okay. Let's talk about Derek next week. Yeah. And then honestly, we're kind of running out of guys who I think are going to be in conversation at 5, which is the nice thing about 5. You're not looking at 15 guys. And then we'll probably start looking at some other players in the 20s and kind of around that range because, man, the more I look at this, like the way I'm talking about Jeremiah Fears going from 5 to 21, that's going to happen with other guys as well. Yes. This is going to be an interesting draft. I think this could be a Dante Exum, Rodney Hood-like situation for the Jazz as well, where hopefully you get a better player than Dante Exum at 5. But like, Jazz fans were stunned that Rodney Hood was on the board when they drafted in the 20s in that draft. I think he went 27 overall as well, but I can't remember exactly. Maybe it was 22. Yeah. You're going to have a similar situation where Jazz are like, man, I heard that guy talked about it like at 12, and he's going to be on the board at 21. That's going to happen in this draft because it's pretty flat, and there's going to be, a guy could slip really quickly. Yeah. So that's it for Jeremiah Fears. He's the player I've liked the least of the ones we've watched so far.
Agree.
But with Cooper and Dylan Harper off the board, he gets more into that conversation. I get why he's in the conversation, but he's the player I've liked the least of that group.